Welcome, seekers, to the Library of Divine Echoes. You are welcomed to a space dedicated to the rigorous excavation of the unseen forces that shape experiential reality. Within this quiet corner of the digital world, the current inquiry embarks upon a profound exploration of the operative depths of the magical craft, moving far beyond the superficial aesthetics of modern occultism. I'm your host, Christopher Little, and today we will delve into the synthesis of Chaos Magick, ancient Hermetic philosophy, and modern scientific paradigms, offering a comprehensive framework designed to guide the seeker toward genuine spiritual growth, resilience, and harmony. The knowledge synthesized herein transcends cultural and religious boundaries, providing a pragmatic toolkit for practitioners of all experience levels, from the novice to the master, regardless of their spiritual heritage. As the overarching intent is the cultivation of a growth mindset and the empowerment of the individual against the turbulent backdrop of the modern era, the discourse will navigate the esoteric, the divinatory, and the psychological realms before concluding with a guided meditation designed to anchor these profound truths to the practitioner's daily reality. Chaos Magick emerged in the late 20th century as a radical, necessary departure from the dogmatic, hierarchical, and overly formalized traditions of classical ceremonial magic. It is a system intrinsically bound up with the conditions of late modernity and postmodernity, in identifying more closely with the empirical investigative methods of science, quantum physics, and psychology than with orthodox religion. The primary architects of this system, including Peter J. Carroll and Ray Sherwin, synthesized a framework that defines magic simply and profoundly as the raising of the whole individual in perfect balance to the power of infinity. At the absolute core of Chaos Magick lies the principle of anarchic individualism. The lone individual is viewed as the essential unit of society, and the greatest goal of existence is the full development and expression of the self. This philosophy operates on the premise that the practitioner is entitled to act, desire, believe, and achieve whatever is willed, provided such actions do not encroach upon the autonomy of others. The system abandons the post-monotheist illusion of a singular, monolithic, real self, recognizing instead that human consciousness consists of a multiplicity of drives, sub-selves, and shifting archetypes. The most revolutionary concept introduced by this tradition is the understanding of belief not as an objective, immutable truth, but as a flexible tool. In traditional magical systems, belief is invariably tied to a fixed cosmology or a strict set of religious doctrines, requiring absolute faith from the practitioner. Conversely, the Chaos Magician adopts a highly fluid approach, viewing beliefs as mental software that can be consciously programmed, utilized strategically to enhance the efficacy of a magical operation, and subsequently discarded when it no longer serves a purpose. The prime cautionary injunction of the system, often attributed to Hassan-i-Sabbah and popularized by modern esotericists, is that nothing is true, everything is permitted. This paradoxical statement liberates the mind from rigid paradigms, asserting that all models of reality are approximations, and thus any paradigm can be utilized if it yields practical results. To understand how subjective belief can influence objective reality, the practitioner must examine the intersections between magic, quantum physics, and chaos mathematics. The wave-particle duality in quantum mechanics suggests that reality exists as a vast, invisible wave world of probability, which only collapses into a discrete material state upon observation. The observer effect validates the esoteric premise that consciousness is a fundamental, causal force in the universe. Furthermore, the many worlds interpretation (MWI) of quantum mechanics posits that every quantum event results in the universe splitting into multiple branches or timelines, meaning all possible alternative histories and futures coexist within a vast multiverse. In this view, the skilled magician utilizes belief and intent to generate desirable synchronicity, effectively navigating the multiverse to select a timeline that aligns with the intended outcome. Paradigm element, cosmology, traditional ceremonial magic, fixed, hierarchical, often monotheistic or strictly polytheistic. Chaos magic, fluid, quantum, probabilistic, and multiverse-oriented. Belief system, traditional ceremonial magic, absolute faith required in a specific set of dogmas or deities. Chaos magic, belief is a tool, paradigms can be adopted and discarded at will. Paradigm element, morality, traditional ceremonial magic, often bound by external ethical codes, for example, the Wiccan Rede. Chaos magic, anarchic individualism, ethics are self-determined. Paradigm element, source of power, traditional ceremonial magic, external divine entities, strict adherence to ancient formulas. Chaos magic, the practitioner's own subconscious mind, accessed via gnosis. Paradigm element, view of the self, traditional ceremonial magic, a singular monolithic soul striving for unity with the divine. Chaos magic, a decentralized parliament of sub-selves and archetypes. While chaos magic thrives on the dismantling of rigid dogma, it frequently incorporates the highly structured philosophy of Hermeticism to explain the mechanics of reality hacking. The Kybalion, published in 1908 and attributed to the three initiates, outlines 7 Hermetic principles that serve as a foundational operating system for the modern magician. When these ancient aphorisms are synthesized with the pragmatic, results-oriented framework of chaos magic, they provide profound insights into the architecture of the invisible, allowing the practitioner to cultivate harmony and navigate challenges with a growth mindset. The principle of mentalism. The Kybalion asserts that the all is mind, the universe is mental. This concept perfectly mirrors the chaos magician tenet that consciousness is fundamental to the fabric of reality, a theory known in philosophy as panpsychism. Because the universe is a product of the mind, altering inner thoughts directly changes outer reality. The chaos magician utilizes mentalism to transcend the ego, accessing a state of pure potentiality where the boundaries between the conscious mind and the external environment dissolve. This principle is the bedrock of all manifestation, asserting that the mastery of the mind equates to the mastery of life itself. The principle of correspondence. Summarized by the axiom, as above, so below, as below, so above, the principle of correspondence suggests that patterns repeat across the cosmic scale. By studying the microcosm of the self, the practitioner gains profound insights into the macrocosm of the universe. In the context of chaos theory, this is reflected in the fractal nature of reality, where infinite detail is contained within a finite space, and small, sensitive changes in initial conditions yield massive, non-linear outcomes. This interconnectedness guarantees that a shift in the practitioner's internal energetic state will inevitably ripple outward to alter their external circumstances. The principle of vibration. The Hermetic maxim states, "Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates." This ancient truth remarkably anticipates modern string theory, which proposes that the fundamental building blocks of the universe are not solid particles, but infinitesimal vibrating strings. The vibrations of these strings create the diverse manifestations of the physical world. The practitioner learns to amplify their own energetic wavelength, referred to in esoteric texts as the scepter of power, to influence the probabilistic field of their environment, aligning their personal frequency with the frequency of abundance and success. The principle of polarity. The assertion that everything is dual, everything has poles, highlights the illusion of absolute separation. Love and hate, fear and courage are identical in nature but different in degree. Chaos magicians utilize this principle to aggressively transmutate emotional states. Rather than suppressing negative emotions, the practitioner shifts the polarity of the feeling, transmuting fear into courage or anxiety into excitement. This emotional engineering provides the massive energetic input required for successful spell casting and spiritual resilience. The principle of rhythm. Rhythm dictates that there are natural ebbs and flows in all things. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The Chaos Magician understands that periods of intense magical output must be followed by periods of rest and integration. Acknowledging the rhythm of the universe prevents burnout and allows the practitioner to harmonize their spellcraft with the natural cycles of time, astrometeorology, and personal energy levels. The principle of cause and effect. This principle reminds the practitioner that chance is but a name for law not recognized, and that there are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. The practitioner of Chaos Magick refuses to be a mere effect of the world's circumstances. By mastering these principles, the magician becomes a conscious cause, the driving force of energy that dictates the temporal and physical domains, rather than being a passive victim of fate. The principle of gender. Hermetic philosophy asserts that gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. In the realm of mental creation, this translates to the synthesis of the divine force of logic and will, masculine, with the creative, receptive force of emotion and imagination, feminine. The Chaos Magician weaves these two forces together to birth new realities, ensuring that their magical acts are both structurally sound and emotionally vitalized. While Chaos Magick relies heavily on modern scientific metaphors, its practical techniques are deeply rooted in the most ancient spiritual traditions of humanity, animism and shamanism. The tradition is inherently cross-cultural, validating the premise that the knowledge shared applies to all members of human society. The animistic worldview posits that all natural phenomena, plants, animals, and locations possess associated forces and spirits with which the practitioner can interact. In exploring cross-cultural applications, the synthesis of disparate beliefs yields highly effective magical technology. In colonial Latin America, the blending of Catholicism, African spiritual practices, and indigenous beliefs gave rise to brujeria, a potent form of sorcery that historically served to empower and protect marginalized populations against systemic oppression. Similarly, the indigenous Quechua philosophy of the Andean world utilizes the concepts of Yanantin and Masintin to express a complementary dualism that perfectly mirrors the Hermetic principle of polarity and the Chaos Magick integration of order and disorder. In Japanese esoteric practices, magicians invoke Shinto deities like the Izanami, moving beyond Western iconography to tap into the raw, primordial currents of creation and destruction native to Asian mythologies. The most universally accessible and consistently effective form of success magic found across these diverse cultures is ancestor veneration, often referred to by Gordon White as calling upon the armies of the dead. This practice predates recorded history and relies on the profound energetic resonance shared through blood and lineage. The dead hold a vested interest in the prosperity of their descendants. By providing regular offerings, such as food, drink, and incense, and establishing a dedicated space for the ancestors, the practitioner triggers a cascade of broad-based, highly beneficial synchronicity. It provides an unparalleled foundation of luck and protection against the vagaries of the modern economic landscape, proving that one does not need elaborate ceremonial tools to generate profound reality shifts. Beyond the ancestral realm, the practitioner seeks alliances with trickster entities and ambivalent deities. Tricksters such as Hermes, Wakjunkaga, or the folkloric Devil of the Crossroads are the undisputed masters of liminal space and probability. They operate outside the rigid moral binaries of orthodox religion, manifesting through high strangeness, games of chance, and unexpected windfalls. The trickster predates the ordered laws of civilization and possesses the means to subvert the rules that keep the practitioner separated from their desires. By conducting offerings at physical crossroads or invoking deities of fortune like Tish, the practitioner cultivates a symbiotic relationship with chaos itself, ensuring that serendipity favors their endeavors. The mechanism by which the practitioner accesses the subconscious mind to rewrite reality is known as gnosis. Gnosis is a state of highly focused consciousness achieved through extreme physiological and psychological methods, leading to the substantial inhibition of peripheral brain functions and the dismantling of the psychic censor. The psychic censor is the neurological mechanism that filters out magical perception and restricts consciousness to consensus reality. Bypassing this censor is the prerequisite for all effective magical action. The syllabus of Liber MMM, the foundational training manual of Chaos Magick, outlines the mind control techniques necessary for this work. Mastery requires the ability to achieve absolute motionlessness of the body, precise regulation of breathing, and the absolute stilling of discursive thought. Gnosis is generally divided into two categories, inhibitory and excitatory. Inhibitory gnosis utilizes inward-looking techniques to silence the conscious mind. These practices include deep meditation, yogic asana, sensory deprivation, fasting, sleeplessness, and trance. Excitatory gnosis, conversely, relies on outward projecting physical intensity to overwhelm the senses. Practitioners utilize frenetic dancing, dervish whirling, rhythmic drumming, ecstatic chanting, controlled hyperventilation, and sexual arousal, such as the practice of karaza, to reach a peak state of mental singularity. Another historically potent avenue for achieving profound altered states is chemognosis. The use of psychoactive substances to induce gnosis is a practice that stretches back to ancient animism, the psychedelic kykeon of the Eleusinian mysteries, and the pharmacological recipes of the medieval Picatrix. In the contemporary context, championed by thinkers like Ernst Junger and William Burroughs, chemognosis involves the highly disciplined ritualistic use of hallucinogens or disinhibitory agents. These substances are not used for recreation, but as specific technological tools to force a temporary collapse of the psychic censor, allowing the practitioner direct access to the quantum field of probability. When combined with intent, chemognosis allows the magician to imprint desires upon the malleable fabric of the multiverse. To systematically map the application of gnosis and track spiritual growth, Chaos Magick employs a framework known as octomantic neurohacking. This concept, extensively explored by practitioners like Mariana Pinzon, synthesizes Dr. Timothy Leary's 8-circuit brain model with Peter J. Carroll's 8 colors of magic. This framework provides a compass for the practitioner to identify specific psychological blockages and apply the corresponding flavor of magical energy to reprogram the human nervous system. By actively balancing the creative forces of order with the disruptive forces of disorder across these 8 circuits, the practitioner continuously unlearns, undoes, and recreates the self, maintaining dynamic balance while surfing the chaotic waves of existence. Color of Magic: Octarine. Planetary elemental drive: Uranian. Pure magic. Magical application and circuit function: the quest for pure magical power, the integration of all sub-selves, and direct engagement with the weird, the etheric, and the demonic. It governs the highest circuits of consciousness. Color of Magic: Black. Planetary elemental drive: Saturnian. Death magic. Magical application and circuit function: disillusion, endings, entropy, and overcoming the fear of death, used for breaking down obsolete structures, breaking bad habits, and performing the rite of dissolution. Color of Magic: Blue. Planetary and elemental drive: Jupiterian. Wealth magic. Magical application and circuit function: abundance, prosperity, charisma, leadership, and the manipulation of probability for material gain, essential for navigating economic realities. Color of Magic: Red. Planetary elemental drive: Martial. War magic. Magical application and circuit function: vigor, strength, courage, survival, harnessing rage, and aggressive movement toward reality. It is the drive to overcome obstacles and assert the will. Color of Magic: Yellow. Planetary elemental drive: Solar. Ego magic. Magical application and circuit function: identity, confidence, self-actualization, and the conscious restructuring of the persona, used to build the magical personality. Color of Magic: Green. Planetary elemental drive: Venusian. Love magic. Magical application and circuit function: healing, harmony, romance, and the cultivation of harmonious relationships, used to repair emotional damage and attract sympathetic allies. Color of Magic: Orange. Planetary elemental drive: Mercurial. Thinking magic. Magical application and circuit function: intellect, rapid change, trickster energies, problem solving, and communication, vital for shifting paradigms and bypassing intellectual blocks. Color of Magic: Purple. Planetary elemental drive: Lunar. Sex magic. Magical application and circuit function: passion, sensory ecstasy, accessing the subconscious through the erotic, and the transmutation of libido into magical force. This 8-tiered system guarantees that the practitioner does not become obsessed with a single mode of being. A complete, harmonious spiritual practice requires the magician to achieve satisfaction and overcome resistance along all 8 vectors, ensuring the holistic evolution of the mind, body, and spirit. The most widely recognized, pragmatic, and heavily utilized application of chaos magic is the practice of sigilization. Rooted in the early 20th century theories of the English artist and mage Austin Osman Spare, sigilization is a method of bypassing the resistance of the conscious mind by communicating desires directly to the subconscious. Spare theorized that the subconscious is the engine of all magical power, but that a desire is only effective once it has been intentionally repressed, forgotten by the conscious mind, and allowed to become an organic part of the deep psyche. The technical process, refined by Ray Sherwin in The Book of Results, involves formulating a highly specific statement of intent. The practitioner removes all repeating letters and vowels from the statement, then condenses the remaining characters into an abstract, diagrammatic glyph, or monogram of thought. This visual symbol is then charged during a state of intense gnosis, whether through the physical exhaustion of dervish whirling, the peak of sensory ecstasy, or the profound silence of inhibitory meditation. At the precise moment of peak Gnostic intensity, the sigil is intensely visualized and then destroyed or banished from the mind, allowing the intent to gestate in the unseen realms and manifest in physical reality. Gordon White expands on this methodology with the concept of shoaling, recognizing that large monolithic goals, such as absolute financial independence or total career transformation, are probabilistically unlikely to manifest from a single magical push. Shoaling involves launching a school of smaller, interconnected sigils simultaneously. These wish-granting squiggles target dozens of minor, highly probable outcomes, such as a specific career opportunity, the resignation of a rival, or a sudden influx of inspiration. As each minor sigil manifests, the probabilistic critical path to the ultimate goal shifts favorably, allowing the practitioner to navigate complex economic realities with precision and layered momentum. Furthermore, sigilization serves as a vital tool for internal psychological alchemy. In the Book of Results, the practitioner is instructed to undertake rigorous self-inquiry, cataloging every daily action to distinguish between actions of necessity, licit actions, and actions born of habit, spurious appetite, laziness, or fear, illicit actions. These illicit behaviors and mental blind spots are personified as internal demons. The practitioner creates an arbitrary name and a corresponding action sigil for each demon, systematically confronting and dismantling these neurotic blockages through daily observation and willed material activity. This profound shadow work removes the internal censorship mechanism, allowing the practitioner to function at absolute capacity and cultivate a genuine growth mindset. The structuring of magical space and the manipulation of subtle energies form the architectural framework in which spellcasting occurs. In the practice of reality manipulation, the creation of an astral temple is detailed as a vital endeavor. The astral plane is recognized as a boundless, potentially hazardous realm of psychic energy. The astral temple serves as a secure, heavily guarded psychic construct built within the practitioner's mind. Through rigorous visualization and sensory mapping, this inner sanctuary becomes a staging ground where the practitioner can safely evoke entities, store magical tools, and manipulate the fabric of reality without interference from hostile forces. To delineate sacred space in the physical world, the practitioner employs banishing rituals. A prominent example is the caltrop of chaos, a ritual designed to dissolve the practitioner's ties with consensus reality and invite the bizarre, unformed energies of improbability into the working space. By engaging with the chaotic void, the practitioner dismantles the rigid structures of the mundane world, creating a localized vacuum where new probabilities can take root. Another highly potent ritual architecture is the headless rite, derived from ancient Greek magical papyri. This rite serves as a mechanism for triggering initiation and depatterning the mind. By calling upon the awesome and invisible God with an empty spirit, the practitioner asserts absolute authority over the spiritual hierarchy. The rite deliberately transgresses cultural and religious taboos, stripping away the deeply ingrained social conditioning that binds the practitioner to the multiculture. It is a bold declaration of sovereignty, announcing the magician's presence to the extra-dimensional landscape and establishing the psychic dominance required to command the unseen forces of nature. Advanced practitioners also engage with the chaos sphere, a multi-dimensional energy construct utilized for profound reality manipulation as detailed in Liber Om. By formulating a sphere of etheric energy and imprinting it with paradox and impossibility, simultaneously holding mutually exclusive ideas in the mind, the practitioner opens a vortex into the dimension of pure chaos. This construct acts as a powerful amplifier, flooding the localized environment with raw, indeterminate energy that drastically accelerates the manifestation of enchantments. In the digital era, these ritual dynamics extend to the creation and manipulation of egregores, autonomous collective thought forms generated by the synchronized belief and energy of a group. In the realms of cyber magic, practitioners harness the interconnected web of the internet to feed and direct egregores for specific socio-political or economic outcomes. The internet acts as a vast neural network, allowing collective spirits to manifest changes on a global scale. proving that consciousness can organize itself and exert force far beyond the confines of the physical body. The application of these profound metaphysical truths must eventually meet the friction of the material world. As Gordon White articulates in the Chaos Protocols, contemporary civilization is experiencing a severe structural crisis. The modern economic reality is characterized by a biosphere in ecological peril, a rapidly expanding wealth gap, the automation of middle-class employment, and an economy heavily skewed by criminal banking, total surveillance, and systemic inequality. White identifies this epoch through the lens of the Hindu concept of the Kali Yuga, an age of darkness where rulers pose a danger to their citizens, climate shocks devastate populations, and profound suffering is widespread. Cultivating harmony and abundance in such an era requires a ruthless dismantling of cognitive dissonance. The first protocol is recognizing the bars, which demands that the practitioner face the dismal accuracy of the current socioeconomic paradigm. Resilience is not forged by finding comforting answers, but by confronting the harsh truth that the fundamental promises of modern civilization, study hard, buy a house, retire happy, are obsolete constructs designed for the benefit of a tiny elite. To accept the narrative of the monoculture is to accept a life of high energy, commuting, crushing debt, and unfulfilled potential. To thrive in the Kali Yuga, the practitioner must redefine success. Success must be individually defined and individually delivered, completely disassociating personal meaningfulness from the generation of wealth required to achieve it. Becoming invincible is defined explicitly as the process of immunizing the self against the monoculture. This immunization involves recognizing that the universe operates probabilistically, favoring serendipity over rigid planning. Life rarely adheres to a primary or secondary plan. Instead, it unfolds according to Plan C. Resilience and abundance are found by making peace with Plan C, learning to adapt dynamically, and utilizing magic to maximize the outcomes of unexpected deviations. Magic, in this context, departs from mere mysticism by proudly proclaiming an unshakable intention to do noteworthy things in the material world. It is the tactic of last resort for those who refuse to succumb to samsara, perpetual wandering and passive acceptance of circumstances, and instead choose to bend the probabilities of a rigged game in their favor. When life presents hardship, the resilient practitioner takes those elements to the proverbial crossroads, offering them to unseen forces to catalyze radical change. To successfully navigate the complex probabilities of reality, the Chaos Magician requires accurate intelligence regarding the unseen currents of time. The fundamental approach to divination in Chaos Magick is summarized by the maxim, enchant long and divine short. Because the universe is inherently chaotic and sensitive to initial conditions, the distant future remains highly indeterminate. Attempting to predict events years in advance is often futile, as the universe has not yet decided its course. Instead, the practitioner uses strong enchantments to shape long-term trajectories, while utilizing divination to navigate short-term obstacles and immediate tactical decisions. Cartomancy, particularly the tarot, serves as a primary tool for the magnificent game of the king. The origins of tarot and card games trace back to 1300s Europe, evolving from Near Eastern influences and reflecting deeper universal truths. The tarot is viewed not as a fatalistic script, but as a mechanism for precognition, presentiment, and accessing the deep subconscious. Research into precognition suggests that it acts almost like a memory of future occurrences, while presentiments are physiological responses to future states of anxiety. The imagery of the card bypasses linguistic constraints, allowing the practitioner's intuition to identify potential pitfalls and unseen advantages. A critical challenge in divination is overcoming analytical overlay, a term coined by remote viewer Ingo Swann to describe the conscious mind's tendency to immediately interpret and categorize psychic imagery as it is received, thereby corrupting the accuracy of the signal. To combat this, the practitioner must silence the analytical mind during the reading, observing the symbols objectively before allowing interpretation to occur. Furthermore, the practice of nested divination allows the magician to switch seamlessly between different oracular systems, from the broad archetypes of the major arcana to the paranoid minutiae of the Sibylla oracle, depending on the specific emotional resonance of the situation. Tracking these divinatory outputs through monthly reporting allows the practitioner to compare their logical expectations against the astrological and cartomantic data, providing a robust feedback loop that continually refines their precognitive accuracy. The result is a profound temporal synchronization, where the practitioner anticipates the movements of the universe and positions themselves to capture the maximum possible advantage. The synthesis of chaos magic, hermetic principles, and quantum reality offers a master key to existence. By discarding dogmatic limitations, engaging the subconscious through intense gnosis, utilizing the precision of sigilcraft, and forging alliances with the unseen, the practitioner transforms from a passive observer of fate into the conscious architect of reality. The bars of the monoculture are recognized and transcended. In the crucible of the Kali Yuga, the practitioner becomes invincible, an isolated point of pure potentiality, endlessly capable of cultivating harmony and commanding abundance. It is necessary to integrate this knowledge not just into the intellect, but into the nervous system and spirit. I invite you to transition from the realm of theory into the realm of direct experience. Find a position of profound stillness. Whether seated in a chair or resting upon the floor, ensure the spine is straight, allowing the natural currents of the body to flow unimpeded. Gently close your eyes, shutting out the glaring distractions of the external world. Bring your focus entirely to the breath. Inhale deeply through the nose, hold for a moment, and exhale slowly through the mouth. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. With each exhalation, the heavy, static constraints of the material world are expelled. The rigid structures of daily identity, the anxieties of economic survival, the illicit demons of habit and fear, and the false promises of the monoculture begin to fracture and dissolve into the ether. Visualize a brilliant point of iridescent octarine light hovering just before the brow. This light represents the infinite, chaotic potential of the universe, the underlying quantum field from which all reality is born. It is the primordial soup of existence, unbound by time, unconstrained by dogma. As you continue to breathe in this rhythmic cycle, this light begins to expand. It encompasses the head, flowing down through the neck, the torso, and the limbs, until your entire physical form is encased in a radiant, pulsating sphere of energy. This is the personal chaos sphere, an impenetrable shield against the noise of consensus reality. Within this sphere, the concept of a singular, fixed self evaporates. You are no longer bound by past failures or future anxieties. There is only the vibrating, limitless present. Acknowledge the vast unseen networks of ancestors, tricksters, and allies standing in the periphery of this light, ready to assist in the manipulation of probability. Rest for a moment in this state of pure potentiality. The mind is a blank slate, the will is fully charged, and the architecture of the invisible yields to the command of consciousness. You are the architect, the cause, and the sovereign of your own reality. Deepen your breath once more, anchoring this profound empowerment into the physical body. Inhale and exhale. Gently open your eyes. The reality that awaits is recognized not as a prison, but as a canvas of infinite possibility. The magic has already begun. As you return to the waking world, grounded in your body but expanded in your spirit, remember that the monoculture is merely a story, one you are no longer required to believe. You now hold the blueprints to the architecture of the invisible, whether through the silence of gnosis, the casting of sigils, or the wisdom of the Hermetic principles. The tools to hack the probabilities of the Kali Yuga are in your hands. You are no longer a passive victim of fate, but the conscious cause of your own experience. Thank you for dwelling for a time within the Library of Divine Echoes. If this transmission provided a key to your own growth, please subscribe and share this signal with fellow seekers. Until we meet again in the ether, remember, nothing is true, everything is permitted, and your reality is waiting to be written. Step forward and build.